celebration for my uncle, Kenny Elbert. And thank you all for taking time out of your schedules on this Saturday to be here. I'm the kid, Chappelle King Harrison. I'm the oldest grandchild on both sides of my family, and I'm the niece of Kenny. So I just wanted to say thank you all for being here. It means so much to all of us. I want to thank our host and hostess, as well as everyone who had anything to do with today. So I want to thank the Frazier family. Thank you. Lily Frazier and Veronica Frazier. And our host, James Elbert, for hosting this event. And everyone who brought something as well. So thank you very much. I want to thank everybody who has taken time to take care of my Uncle Kenny. If you had anything to do with taking care of Uncle Kenny, please raise your hand, wave them in the air. We want to thank you and acknowledge you. We want to acknowledge you for all your and everybody.
He called me
here
to
take care of
me to
him.
break him out.
Everybody. It took a village to take care of you.
Absolutely.
I don't have to tell anybody that it takes a village when you get sick. And our family was a village. So, you know, sometimes you squabble in the village, but now we're coming together in the village, bringing the village together, and loving one another and thanking each other for what we have done together. And that is today, celebrate Uncle Kenny. So, with no further ado, I would like to ask Nick, if you want to say some words about your dad? Yeah. Okay, and anyone who want to say some words, we'd love to hear from you. This is the time. So, Nick, pass it over to you.
I'm that Frazier person she's talking about.
Get the words, push and then what I do is to make sure I can hear it.
Nick, you want to say some
When you
words?
want to start.
Oh, you recording? Okay.
It's recording. I have to hear what she's saying.
Hey, everybody.
Hey.
So, I'm Nick Nicholson. I'm my dad's only child. So, I wrote like a little bit. So, I didn't really know my dad, though I thought I did. When I lived here, we would go, I would go pick him up and we'd go visit him. I'd take him to Bobby's house. And I tracked down his sister Virgie, and we go wherever she was. One of the things about my dad is that he was always himself. One time we found her at another witness's house playing cards. It was like 2 a.m. in the morning. And his side of the family, they're night people.
You right about that.
And so we pulled up in front of the house, and like all these people were up at 2 a.m. in the morning playing cards. And then my dad walked in like the party was for him. And he, with his big smile, and he started telling jokes that were inappropriate. And I was like, you know these are witnesses, right? And he just kept going. Give me 1 second. And so I was saying that he walked in with big energy, greeting people like he was the president and smiling. And I guess it had been a minute since I had seen him be himself. And my dad scooted right up to the table and started talking junk. I didn't even know my dad liked dominoes until I moved to St. Louis. So I didn't know my dad liked dominoes until I moved to St. Louis. And I remember there were being spades parties when I was growing up, where I would see him play cards, but it wasn't until I started asking him what he was doing on the phone when I was here, and he would always say, holding class.
That's him.
And he was like, I'm teaching people how to lose. And so this time when I came to pick him up, he was sitting in a fenced-in area apartment building, dressed to the nine, with a matching tweed paperboy hat. and a scarf.
Oh.
I told my dad, "You look so cute," and he turned around and said, "Babies and puppies are cute. Your daddy fine." And then I asked him, "Where you going all dressed up?" And he said he had a PhD in dominoes, and he was holding class. My dad always cracked me up, and we spent most of our time competing on who could make the other person laugh the most. I loved his Maurice Harden stories, and every time I would ask him to tell me about the time he broke him out of the asylum, he'd tell me like it was the first time, acting out all the parts. He was a very animated storyteller. Anyway, on this day, I noticed he was surrounded by men, all of them smiling and grinning. The mood was high. My dad was a vibe, an energy. The men ranged in age, the oldest maybe 80, the youngest maybe 25. Sometimes I would find him with a table of 20-year-olds, men laughing and talking junk, them listening to him and nodding their head. They respected his honesty, authenticity, and sincerity. He'd admit how he messed up, and he'd talk about his regrets and warn them against it. I asked my dad if he was ready to go. He said he can come back and beat them again. And then one of the young men yelled out, "You ain't never beat me," to which my dad turned around like he couldn't believe somebody had the nerve. And he said, "Because I have not played you yet. I have not beaten you yet." One time we were riding in the car, and I turned the radio station when the song came on that I thought was inappropriate. And that's when my dad told me that he liked stripper and gang music. And told me to turn back and proceeded to dance and yell out the window. Also, when sometimes I would ask him, he would call and ask me like where I was at, and I told him I was helping a friend out. She had opened a club in St. Louis, and he said, "Tell me what's club." And he said, "Cause maybe I'll go over there when I go out dancing." And I'm like, "You go out dancing?" He was like, "Yeah, I go out by myself dancing all the time."
Yeah.
And I just, and it was like until unless you ask questions, he's got like all these different people that he is, My father was a complex man. He joked a lot, but he was very serious. He wore his heart on his shoulder. He was stubborn. He was meticulous, but he could compartmentalize. I never really saw my dad raise his voice. I honestly can't remember him or my mom ever arguing in front of me. And my dad thought he could sing.
Yeah.
Yes, he did.
Yeah.
He thought he was the missing temptation. And one of the things that I loved about him is that one, he was always growing, he was always evolving. One of the things I hated is conspiracy theories.
Oh, you do?
He would call me and he would tell me, like all these crazy stories. And I was like, it's time to go clean his phone out. So he can't get back to the pages he was looking at. And sometimes he'd call me and he'd say, "Nick, I'm scared." I was like, "You gotta stay off YouTube."
That's all.
My dad was one of the funniest people and one of the most endearing people. And I'm still in disbelief. He has been dead so many times, I really thought he was going to do it again. It's kind of weird. At the end of his life, I was frustrated with my dad, and he was frustrated with me.
Okay.
And one of the things about that is that my dad had started cleaning his house to die. Like in January, he's like vacuuming out his cabinets and stuff, and he was, giving stuff away. And he would call me and he would be on the phone sometimes like 10 hours. And I would just put the phone on speaker and let him, live. And sometimes, he would go to sleep at night and we were on the phone, so I would mute the call so that I would make noise and wake him up, and he would immediately go, up. And I'd be like, "Yeah, I'm still here." He like, "Yeah, I just want to hear the noise." And so I would have these calls with him for like 10, 12 hours. And his best friend Joe Michelotto would call and talk to him for 3 or 4 hours. And at the end of his life, I was really frustrated because I didn't understand.
Okay. Take your time.
I wanted to say that he was in denial because I had been talking to him about going to a home, but what I realized, you know, after I had time to process, that he wasn't in denial. He was going out fighting. They said that my dad was supposed to die in like June, and that he was on his last days, but I'm telling everybody this: if ever you get to a point where you cannot walk, you need to work on that because it shortens your life. And so my dad realized that he was losing his facilities, and he called and got himself into physical therapy and started walking again. He went from a wheelchair to a walker to a cane to nothing, which is why he didn't die, because he started forcing himself. And so this last time, he just kept saying, I can't believe my legs won't respond, you know, because he was still trying to keep going. And I didn't really understand when I was talking to him about going to a home, that he felt like that was surrendering. And he said he was gonna fight to his last breath, you know. And so I hope he forgives me. I don't know if you guys know he wasn't speaking to me when he passed, but I hope he forgives me.
It's okay.
He loved you. He loved you.
And Nikki was, he loves you, baby. Always remember, he loves you very much.
I really thought he should be going to a home he did not want to. And I was talking to him on the phone. He couldn't move his legs or anything. He was like, I wash my own face. He was talking to me on the phone. And I'm like, Daddy, you need way more help than that.
Right.
But my dad was a warrior. And I didn't realize it until he was getting ready to pass. Because he had gotten to the point where his pain was so great, the medicine they were giving him was not addressing it. But he didn't want to go to the next step, which means he had to be in a facility. So he suffered through all of that fighting. And it's so crazy that this is happening, because anytime something like this happens, I usually call my dad. Maybe I can't go. And that's all I got.
Very
Thank
good.
y'all for
Very
listening.
good. Now me crying.
All right, well, thank you, Nick. And of course, there's not a moment that your dad did not love you, so you can just forget about that. He loved you.
That's
And
right.
whatever his word, he couldn't speak to anybody at the end, so, you know, you did all we can do. And that's all we can do. So, just forgive yourself, because it's already forgiven. And that's what we gotta do as a family, is just forgive. That's a big word. We just gotta forgive ourselves and forgive each other. That's very important.
That's
Very,
right.
because
No.
at the end of the day, family is all you got.
That's right.
And we know all of us in here will wipe each other's butt, right?
Yeah.
No.
All right,
All
so
right.
you never know who's gonna be
No,
that
I ain't
one.
wiping no butt.
No,
You never know who's
no.
gonna be
Know
that
what you
one.
did?
So, all right, so anybody else have any words to say? Anybody wanna say anything? Anyone wanna say?
Timo, come on, baby.
Oh, no.
Yeah, if you love Kenny, just say I love Kenny.
I love me some Kenny.
I love you,
Yes,
Kenny
indeed.
Dog,
That was my
Kenny
guy.
G, Kenny.
Anybody know?
He was very much loved and he's so missed. He, of course, he's gonna always be the life of the party if he's there. And
Yeah.
he is, and so we just love his presence being here with us today. All in his memory, all of this, and it's a difficult day, but I'm so happy that we have each other here to lean on and to get through it together. So, it's not a long program, we just wanna make sure that everyone knows that how much we love you. Virgil, you were there for his last breath, you were there the whole time. You all took care of him, Barry took care of him, Nick came and took care of him. Princess, thank you. You all came and took care of him. Lucy, all of you, everybody. If you put one day in, that was one day less that someone else had to do. And we just appreciate everybody and everything that you have done. If I missed anyone, my apologies. So anybody else, before we close it out, to play some dominoes and some
Ooh.
Scrabble?
I'm gonna be kidding.
I wanna make sure that everyone knows that we have 5 memory books we're putting together, some scrapbooks for the family. So if you did not sign your name 5 times, please, there's books here, keep them going around. If you would pass the book, make sure you sign 5. We're gonna put some pictures in there and some things to remember for the siblings, for Nick, and, those who love. So thank you so much, everyone, for your time. Let's clear the tables, get your drinks out. Let's get ready to play some bones.
Let's do it.